Amir Khan, Angelina Jolie, and Abhishek Bachchan, what do they all have in common? Well, they all moved to Dubai, and in just under a week after filming this, I'm going to be joining them. Here's 10 reasons why I'm moving to the UAE. So the first reason why I'm moving to the UAE is the general negativity that is surrounding the UK and Europe in general. If you haven't noticed, and I've certainly noticed, that things are very, very downbeat. There's a cost of living crisis, there's talks of a recession if we're not in one already. Whereas if you contrast that, and those of you who've been to the UAE will know this, there's a very, very different vibe there. Things are positive, they are benefiting from the high oil prices, investing in their infrastructure. There's lots of migrants heading over there and being productive in the economy. Dubai and the UAE is truly becoming a global hub, and some might argue that that is the next New York or London. Reason number two, and some of you might slate me for this, is the cheap cost of labor for help around the house, so nannies, maids, and that kind of thing. I'm really looking forward to a world where mine and my wife's time isn't taken up by mundane tasks like cleaning and so on. If I can pay somebody to take care of those mundane tasks, to spend more quality time with the upbringing of my children and enjoying the surroundings, then so much the better. Some of you might argue that this is exploitation of labor. However, the UAE has been very, very tight on sharpening their labor laws, and these nannies are there willingly. They often get to live in these homes rent-free, they get flights home, and they are generally well looked after. Now, reason number three, you'll understand very easily. It's simply the weather. You can't argue that the weather in the UK is depressing at the best of times. Whereas in the UAE, it's all sunshine and blue skies. I'm simply really looking forward to the fact that I'll be able to step outside the home and not have to worry about wearing a coat or taking an umbrella, and simply being able to spend time with the kids and going to places like the beach and other outdoor activities. And it's also been clinically proven that sunshine really helps with your mental health as well. Reason number four is, when I was thinking about where to move in the world, I wanted to move somewhere that was already very well set up for expats. It's the first time I'm making a major move abroad, and so I needed a country that was really easy with respect to visas, getting a house, getting a car, etc., etc. Now, this might seem like a really small thing, but actually if you're contemplating a move abroad, then this actually makes a really, really big difference, particularly if it's your first move abroad like it is for me. The fifth and final reason is one of Muslim identity. So many of you have reached out, and I've had conversations with people where you're scared to be Muslim and to teach your children certain things, or you're worried that your children are being taught certain things in schools. A big part of my moving is that I want my children to feel comfortable with their Muslim identity without the fear of what they're actually being taught in schools and having to correct all of those things at home. Now, some of you might argue that the UAE is hardly the bastion of Islamic morality. But what I would say to that is, taking everything into consideration, that is certainly true, but it's still a better place to be than the UK and Europe from a Muslim identity perspective at this point in time.
Wait, Mohsin, you didn't mention the best benefit of being in the UAE, 0% tax rate.
Thanks, Sohaib. But that was deliberate, because the thing about 0% tax is, it sounds great not having to pay tax to the government, but my view is that it all kind of nets out to be the same. Because if, like me, you're someone with children, you're going to end up having to send your kids to private school, and let me tell you, that's not cheap. The accommodation tends to be a little bit more expensive, and generally the cost of living tends to be on the higher side. So taking all of that into consideration, my view is that it all nets out to be the same. But I've not done the exact numbers on this just yet, and I'll perhaps save that for a future video. Professional reason number one is that we have a large client base in the Middle East, and so far we've never actually had a physical presence on the ground. But now, as we're looking to expand, serve our clients better, and attract more clients, it makes sense to have physical presence on the ground. Reason number two is, as I said earlier, business is really booming in the Middle East, and it's important as a business that we put ourselves with trends, into places and markets that are moving nicely with momentum. In contrast to gloomy outlooks in the UAE and Europe, the UAE economy grew by 6.5% last year and is projected to be 7% this year. All of this means that there's a lot of opportunity in the UAE, in the Middle East, and it makes a lot of sense to place ourselves right at the heart of that. Which brings me very nicely onto professional reason number 3, which is all about Saudi Arabia. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard about the Saudi Vision 2030. You've probably heard lots of stories about all the money that Saudi Arabia is pumping into its infrastructure, and the Middle East is really going to be the beneficiary of that. As a business, we want to be as close as we can to that. And it makes sense for us to be within that space, keeping a close eye on developments as the Saudi economy grows and taking advantage of that in order to boost our own growth as well. Reason number 4 is the UAE is a very safe jurisdiction from a legal and regulatory perspective as well. That's really important to us as a business, and I'm sure many of you are thinking the same if you're thinking about moving your business to the UAE. It benefits from mirroring its system very, very similarly to the UK, and so it's a very familiar environment to be in. Reason number 5 is something called Hub 71, which is an Abu Dhabi accelerator program, which we were lucky enough to be a part of. They're offering fantastic incentives for companies to go and set up over there, and it's a great opportunity to be part of a really, really exciting ecosystem alongside other companies. And so for us, Hub 71 was a really, really good reason for us to get into the UAE market. Well, that's it, folks. Those are my reasons for moving to the UAE. Please let me know in the comments if you're also thinking about moving to the UAE, or perhaps you moved to the UAE. I also want suggestions for content that I should do when I'm out there. Just let me know in the comments. See you on the other side.